I'm Claire Adam, just married recently. I met my husband, Ethan, at work after I was placed there as a temp. At first, we were merely co-workers, but as we began talking more, I found myself being invited out on dates. It was somewhat unexpected, but pleasantly so. Our relationship progressed smoothly, and within a year, he proposed. It seemed a bit fast, but Ethan was so caring and gentlemanly that I quickly decided to marry him. However, a concern arose when we went to greet my in-laws. Ethan and his parents seemed too close, which gave me the impression he was being spoiled. Moreover, my Mil was cold towards me, not even making eye contact. She said to me, "Are you from a single-parent family? Is everything okay? Have you been properly educated? A wife should support her husband. Can you devote yourself to my son?" Considering he was an only child who had always lived at home, I guess any mother might feel like she's losing her child when he suddenly announces he's getting married. So, I decided to take the challenge of getting along with my Mil as part of the fun of newlywed life. After some hurdles, we completed our marriage registration and started living together. We wanted to move in together sooner, but Ethan had never lived alone and was reluctant to leave his parents' house. Now, I think he might be a mama's boy, but back then, I was too excited about getting married to give it much thought, and we just started our married life without much consideration. About a week later, my husband's attitude suddenly changed. He used to greet me with a smile when he came home, saying, "I'm home, my sweet honey," but one day, he started ignoring me. He would walk past me into the house, sit at the dining table in silence, and wait for dinner. No matter how many times I asked, "What's wrong? Did something happen?" he ignored me and wouldn't even look at me. Reluctantly, I placed the dinner on the table, and he began to devouring it in silence, then headed straight to his room upstairs without saying a word. At first, I wondered if I had upset him and reviewed my actions. But honestly, until the day before, we were getting along fine, and I couldn't recall doing anything wrong. So, I tried doing things that would make him want to talk to me. I remembered Ethan saying, "Your school uniform is adorable. Please wear it for me sometime," when he saw my yearbook. So I dressed up in my old uniform and excitedly waited for him at the entrance. But he ignored that too. It was a failed attempt to get a reaction, but I wasn't about to give up. I kept trying different things. On Monday it was anime character day, and on Tuesday I wore a mascot costume, and I dedicated the whole week to dressing up. I put a lot of effort into the banana costume on Friday, but he didn't even glance my way. However, I caught a glimpse of his face as he went upstairs, and he seemed to be laughing a bit, so I felt there was some response. Being treated like air by the person you love is hard. I was really looking forward to our newlywed life. Having lived alone for a long time, I know that dinners and baths on exhausting overtime nights are just something you get through, right? But I fought with Ethan. Dinners and baths would be enjoyable. Yet in reality, Ethan would eat breakfast and dinner in his room, and he'd take a bath after I had filled the tub without saying a word. As long as baths, meals and laundry were provided, our life went on in silence. I started wondering what the point of getting married was. So, I really wanted to make up. That's why, around noon, I went out to Ethan's favorite cake shop a bit far away. It took some time because I had to take the train, but I figured if I got back by dinner, we could have cake and maybe start talking again, like before. Thinking this, I excitedly left the shop with the cake in hand. Then, a car hit me from the side, and I was rushed to the hospital by ambulance. It happened right in front of the shop, so the staff came running immediately, and the driver didn't run away but got out of the car, so it ended up being a regular traffic accident. I fractured my leg and ended up being hospitalized for several months. Since it was decided I'd be hospitalized, I immediately contacted Ethan, but there was no reply. Even though he read the message, there was no response. Days passed with him just reading my messages and not even bringing me a change of clothes until eventually, My mom used my key to bring me clothes and other necessities during the day on a weekday.
I can't believe it. Why hasn't he even come to visit? My mom was as puzzled by Ethan's actions as I was, totally baffled.
Then, I got a call from my mill. Is it true you broke your leg? You're not lying to get hospital fees, are you? No. The driver is covering the hospital fees and everything else. Humph. It's because you're always so absent-minded that you get into accidents. How is my son supposed to live without you? Excuse me? If I weren't here, you'd be the only one to take care of my son. You're failing as a wife. While you're hospitalized, I'll take care of my son, so don't worry. Wait, please. I want to talk to Ethan. Could you put him on the phone? He doesn't want to talk to you. It seems you're not recognized as a wife by my son. I wanted to talk to Ethan, but my mill interrupted me, said what she wanted to, and hung up. We hadn't really fought, and cheating or affairs were completely out of the question. If I did something unconsciously, I wanted it to be addressed directly, and regardless of the reason, I couldn't accept this treatment anymore. I didn't know if what my mill said reflected Ethan's feelings, but it became clear that he didn't care that his mother treated me like just someone who had to take care of him. During the months of my hospital stay, Ethan never came to see me. Right after I was discharged, I packed up my things and took refuge at my mom's home. Living at my mom's home for the first time in a while, I started to slack off and noticed my stomach area getting a bit flabby. I was feeling down and thought about just sending the divorce papers and calling it quits when they saved me the trouble and showed up. Though, they came with a monster in tow. Really? What are you thinking? Not serving my son and just comfortably staying at your mom's home? You're a disgraceful wife. My mill seemed angry at me for running away and leaving her son behind. My Phil came too, but he seemed disinterested. Ethan, the most important person, said nothing when he saw me. I wanted to say how appalled I was, but prioritized having a calm conversation. I have things I want to say to Ethan as well. Let's go inside and talk. Ha, what can you possibly have to say? You're the one in the wrong for running away. Just come back home now.
Wait, isn't this a marital issue? The intentions of the individuals involved are what matter here. Ethan, what about you? Do you want to talk? When my mom asked, Ethan nodded silently while hiding behind his mother. He started to seem like a little kid to me. Reluctantly, my mill walked into the house and they all sat down together on the 5-seater sofa. I sat on one of the 2 chairs, creating a sort of confrontation layout. While my mom was preparing tea and snacks, I started by explaining why I was at my mom's home. I thought that even if I went back home, I wouldn't be able to have a conversation with Ethan. Right after we started living together, Ethan would just shut himself in his room and not even look at me. I didn't understand why, so I tried leaving letters in front of his room and doing various things, but Ethan remained the same even when I was hospitalized. If I did something terrible without knowing, I wish you would at least talk to me. We're married, but we're still 2 separate people. I want to know what Ethan is thinking. I looked Ethan in the eye, hoping to hear his true feelings. I thought this might be my last chance to hear it directly from him. If he remained silent, I was ready to hand them divorce papers right then and kick all 3 out of my parents' house. But finally, Ethan opened up.
I wasn't told Claire was infertile.
Excuse me? I was shocked, having never expected such a conversation. I've been anxious since we first met, so I did a little digging. Imagine my surprise. Infertility? Isn't that something you report before getting married? This is practically fraud.
That's right.
Apparently, my mill had hired a detective to investigate me without my knowledge. Then, she found out I was infertile, and Ethan had been unable to accept it, deciding to ignore me until I brought it up myself. I could only sigh in disbelief. I'm not infertile. There must be some misunderstanding.
Don't lie. We know your sister failed to conceive.
True, my sister has been trying, but that has nothing to do with me.
What are you talking about? It's hereditary, isn't it?
Huh? If your sister is infertile, then being sisters, you're the same, right? Huh? What are they talking about? This family? It's clear to anyone who looks it up that there's no evidence that such conditions are hereditary. My Mil must be stuck in some bygone era with her outdated views.
That's a prejudice and has no medical basis, you know?
Even my mom started to back me up as she brought out the snacks. Both of my friend's sisters don't have children, so infertility must be hereditary, right?
That's right. Everything's genetic.
What you're saying has no basis at all. Her sister and her are sisters, but they are two different people, right?
It must be because she was raised in a single-parent household. Maybe that's why her bodily functions are incomplete. My Mil, completely ignoring my mom's argument, went on with her unfounded statements. Just like your daughter, you must be someone that can't devote yourself to your husband. That's why you are a single mother, right? How?
My husband passed away from illness when she was young. It wasn't because of a divorce.
Another illness? Unbelievable. You seem like a stigmatized property. Stigmatized property. It would be terrible if she bore a grandchild and then passed away. Who would take care of the grandchild?
I can't, Mom.
I know. Let's end it with this one, shall we?
But
That's enough already if you've been listening all this time.
Just as I was contemplating kicking them out, my mom beat me to it and exploded.
what?
Not you. I'm talking to him.
Me?
Of course, we are talking about you and my daughter. I understand that there were misunderstandings between you, but did ignoring her solve anything? She's been caring for you without even knowing the reason she was being ignored. You do realize she went out to buy your favorite cake on the day of the accident, right? I believe she has done enough. Do you really care about her? Who is more important to you, her or your mom?
At this point, I had already decided that continuing this marriage was impossible no matter what Ethan chose, but it was Ethan who ended our marriage first.
Of course, my mom.
Obviously, I'm the parent who gave birth to this child. Any answer wouldn't have mattered to me, but something about my Mil's attitude was just infuriating. Refusing to let them go. I finally spoke up about something I had been silent on. That makes sense. After all, he was born from you, right? So, you two are connected, obviously. Then, Ethan will eventually go bald.
Excuse me?
Right? Because everything is genetic.
Catching on, my mom quickly joined in my line of reasoning. As my mom threw him a pitying look, Ethan began to look confused.
What are you talking about?
Don't you know? Mil has been going to a hair loss treatment clinic. That's a lie.
My friend lives near the clinic and sees you there quite often, at least once a week, right?
Which means, even though she's hiding it with a wig, it's quite advanced, isn't it?
Poor thing.
Watching us disrupt Ethan, my normally quiet Phil suddenly spoke up.
Is that true?
No, it's not. Caught off guard, my Mo reflexively grabbed the top of her head as my Phil pulled at her hair, revealing a significantly visible scalp. Stop it, don't look, she shrieked, shrinking back like a turtle.
Mom, you're lying, right?
Ethan's face went pale, and he jumped up from the sofa in shock.
Oh my gosh. Am I going to end up like that?
No, you won't. It has nothing to do with you. Sooner or later, right? Because everything is genetic.
Hey, I think I can see the beginnings of it on his scalp.
Poor thing, he is still young, though. Pointing casually at Ethan's head and pitying the mother and son together, Ethan freaked out.
No way. I can't stand this.
He screamed and ran out the door. The Phil seemed particularly shocked by the revelation about his wife's head, his forehead veins bulging in anger.
I haven't heard anything like this. How long have you been deceiving me? A hair loss treatment clinic? Where did the money for such expensive treatments come from? Don't tell me you've been secretly using the money saved for our future grandchildren.
No, that's not it. We can always save money again, right?
How is that different? The money wasn't saved for your hair. How dare you preach that a wife must devote herself to her husband, to Claire and her mother? You've always been a woman who places herself above others and criticizes everyone else. Now I see it clearly. I'm sorry for the inconvenience today. Do as you please with this woman. I'll be leaving.
He bowed to us and left. Left behind, the Mil glared at us, nearly in tears. What are you going to do about this? I kept it a secret from the two because I knew it would end up like this. Now I'll surely be looked down upon. You should understand, being a woman, not wanting something like this known, right? What a terrible family. Well, we made sure to let her understand our feelings too. You were the one who first exposed a sensitive issue about my sister to Ethan without any basis. And then, without any proof, you decided I was the same and created a definitive rift between Ethan and me. I merely did the same to you. She couldn't bring herself to apologize and turned her back on me with a home. When things got too real, I didn't want a verbal apology anyway, so I decided to take the appropriate action. Rest assured, we will return your beloved son to you. We will proceed with the divorce through a lawyer in the coming days. Wait, I don't mind the divorce, but why do we need a lawyer? You'll understand why later. Please leave for today. We forcefully escorted the persisting Mill to the door, expelling the troublesome family from our house. Phew, what a troublesome family.
I never want to let those people into our house again.
To make them pay for the trouble they caused, we decided to use the recorded conversation as evidence to demand $20,000 in damages for emotional distress from Ethan. It might be a bit much, but living with Ethan was tough. Because of Ethan, I ended up with an additional mark on me, but I think it's only fair I receive alimony. I'm not bothered about being divorced, but it seems Ethan took quite a hit, since we worked at the same company before getting married. Through friends I made there, I heard rumors are circulating about his mom issues, making him unpopular with the female staff. The Mill situation worsened with Phil, increasing her visits to the clinic. There are even rumors about her having an affair with the clinic doctor and a possible late-life divorce. That's just a rumor, though. The countryside can be tough with how fast rumors spread. As for Ethan's family, that's their issue, but my life is going smoothly. I found a job right after the divorce and am working hard now. I've even started cohabitating with a new partner who listens and respects me. My sister is finally expecting a child. That means I'll be an aunt before I even get married. It was never said that she absolutely couldn't have children. With the support of her husband and in-laws, she continued her efforts to conceive. My sister is cherished by her in-laws, so I think she'll be fine going forward.